Hi everyone, I'd love to welcome you to today's, what will we call it, today's episode. So I'm here today with three people who have participated with the STV Growth Fund. Danielle from STV and also Lesley and Lewis. And I'll ask each of them to introduce themselves in a second. I just wanted to explain a little bit about why Scottish Business Network was excited to partner with Scottish Television. Scottish Television's a brand that has a great resonance for the members of the diaspora. We've basically all engaged at some point with STV. But the more critical point was STV's reach. STV's reach across Scotland is unparalleled by anyone else. So we felt it was the perfect partner to work with in order to get our message about encouraging Scottish businesses to take advantage of the diaspora. So today we're going to talk about the STV Growth Fund, but first of all, let's introduce everyone. So if I could just start with yourself first, Danielle.
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. So I'm Danielle Kelly. I'm Director of Strategy and Sales Scotland at STV. So I work with all our fantastic members, clients, stakeholders across their growth fund campaigns. So we have dedicated teams in Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Dundee that work with businesses in those areas to really shape marketing that delivers effectiveness. And hopefully I can shed some light on how we do that as we go throughout the session.
Excellent, thank you. And Lesley.
Hi, I'm Lesley Elder. I am the owner-operator of a small independent jewellers, John McKay Jewellers, which is based in Paisley.
Thank you, great to have you with us, Lesley. And over to you, Lewis.
Hi, I'm Lewis Craddock. I am the owner-director of Bedz to Go up in Aberdeen, and we've been advertising with STV for about 3 years now.
Excellent stuff, that's great. So everyone participating today is going to have their own memories of STV, whether it's Taggart or it's some of the fantastic output that's happened, or the Commonwealth Games, which of course was such a catch. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about STV's commitment to the entrepreneur. So if I could ask you, Daniel, why was it important for STV to get involved directly working with earlier stage entrepreneurial businesses in Scotland?
Yeah. Well, I've been at STV since 2007, and in that time worked with a whole different range of businesses. Everyone from Tunnocks, who were our first ever advertiser back in 1957 and are still working with us today, right through to, as you say, owner, manager startups that are evolving and growing across Scotland every day. And around about sort of 2017, 2018, it sort of struck us that actually we work with people who have such fantastic growth trajectories through their marketing. If we can help those businesses a little bit earlier through additional support to get on television, then they can grow faster. And ultimately, that's good for all of us living and working in Scotland. So that was sort of where the Growth Fund was born, essentially. And really, it's to support SMEs right across the country. We try and make it as easy as possible. So you only have to be Scottish registered or work with a Scottish media agency. And from there, it's just having a chat with us. You have your own dedicated account manager who will work with you on campaign planning, understanding your objectives, who you want to target, what target areas of Scotland are important to you. We'll maybe hear from Lesley and Lewis on that because they're in different parts of the country in terms of how that geographical targeting works. But for us, it's really looking at how can we get people on sooner, have more effectiveness so they can sell more products and services. And we do that through match funding, revenue share, and some gifted campaigns to support entrepreneurs as well.
So if we've got someone watching today and watching this and thinking, that might be something of interest, it is as straightforward a process as reaching out to you and reaching out to the team at STV.
Absolutely. So we have a Growth Fund website, so growthfund.tv, and on there you can find information on how the fund works. So there's a overview even booklet, which has some case studies, some examples, and some indicative pricing. I think one of the most commonly asked questions I get is, oh gosh, I need to be Mars or Coca-Cola or Kellogg's. You need to be one of these big, huge brands to be on television. But actually, because we can target regionally, somewhere in the west of Scotland, you can maybe be on start a campaign anywhere from 7 to sort of 15k. In Aberdeen, you maybe looking at 3.5 to 5.5k as a kind of starting price. So really, really accessible and cost effective. All that information's on the site, as well as a kind of introduction to TV advertising. Because I think that the budget's one thing, but actually, how do you start? How do you even make a TV ads? And I think that's something that we work really closely with people on, because if you're an entrepreneur or a founder, your marketing is one of the things that you're planning for, but actually you're planning for your staff, your products, your services, your stores, and marketing is really important, but you can't dedicate 100% of your time to that. So we try and make it really easy. We've got a fantastic in-house creative team. We work with a number of freelance creatives as well to really give advice on how you can get the most from your marketing.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And Lesley, could you tell us a little bit about your business and how you first heard about the Growth Fund?
We are an independent small business, family business. We have a total of 7 staff, including myself. And I came to come to STV because I was persistently spending an awful lot of money on Google, trying to drive traffic to my website. And I got to a point where I was just throwing money away relentlessly. And I sitting watching the television one evening, up comes the phone number, screenshotted it with my own phone. And as soon as I got up the next morning, I thought, we'll just phone. And it was that easy. I phoned, and I very lucky got Maggie Sheridan on the other side of the phone. And we were having coffee the next afternoon. And it was the easiest form of advertising that I've actually embarked on. When you advertise in print, you'll know that you're back, forward, proofs and outs on, etc. So that can be quite time consuming. And also there's quite a lot of proofreading and so on, etc. Whereas with Maggie, it was a lot less time consuming than actually advertising anywhere else, and a lot simpler than advertising anywhere else.
And how did you feel when your first ad went out on television? Or are you someone who's a familiar face on television?
No, I'm not a familiar face on television by any manner of means. And if I be 100% honest and upfront, and I think this is what that's about, I was terrified to be spending that amount of money, especially in a business like mine where we are manufacturing jewellery and all our assets are sitting on the shelf. You'll find most jewellers, they don't have a large bank balance, but they have a very healthily dressed window. So for me to go and take that lump of cash and present it to STV, it was scary. It really was frightening. And even at the last minute, I'm phoning Maggie and I'm saying, am I doing the right thing here? And, what happens? And everything was just, stay calm. It'll be fine. And that's exactly what it was. It was very simple. And also, there was a wee bit of time between when the advert went live and the first bill was due. So it was already paying for itself. So by the time the advert had been on for 2 weeks, and by the time my bill came in, I had enough new business from STV from day one to cover the cost of what I've been doing.
Lesley, I have to thank you. You've exactly explained this in the terms that we as business owners want to understand. Of course, we're going to be sitting there terrified with that level of spend going out, but I can imagine you sitting there and watching that process. So thank you very much for that. And I'll come back to you to get more details on it. And what about yourself, Lewis? Was this a new venture for you a couple of years ago when you first advertised?
So it was for me personally, but historically, the Bedz to Go have been in the go since 1982. And so historically, we've actually advertised with STV back in 1993, I think, which was before my time with the company. I still have the copy on VHS somewhere in the building. But for myself, we'd stopped for about 15 years. And me taking on the business, I wanted to you want to expand, you want to try new things, and I hadn't been part of that before. So so we got in touch with, just picked up the phone, just as Lesley was saying, picked up the phone, spoke to STV, and the rest is history. Yeah, so it's been very, very successful for us. Yeah.
So when you re-engaged and did that first advert, what was the process like for you in developing the advert and then seeing it go live?
It was very straightforward. If anything, I probably confused things or made things more difficult than they had to be.
A man after my own heart.
Yeah, I'll just try my best. And the reason for that is that about 10 years ago, I started doing my own, being the voice of my radio advertising campaign. And as a joke with my wife one night after a couple too many glasses of wine, she said, "Do you want to try that TV thing again?" And she said, "But you need to be in it." And I was like, "No, I didn't. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. A face for radio, maybe." So so anyway, nonetheless, the advert got put together. And I was the starring role, so to speak. 20 seconds of fame, and so so me being in it maybe created a couple of stumbling blocks because I'm not a professional actor. I'm just a businessman that obviously has a bit of a control issue, so I needed to be in amongst the whole thing. It turned out great. It turned out very, very well. And the feedback you get, because I'm here in the shop, I'm here every day, the people that come in, they see me and they say, you're the guy from that. You're the guy from the TV, aren't you? So I've become a very, very, very minor celebrity in my own wee world here in Aberdeen. Very, very minor.
So it's really interesting. So that what we're talking about here is brand. The brand side of this is so important. Yeah. So Danielle, do you find that there's certain types of brands or products that are more suited to this, or is it more us to be imaginative in the ways that we can use the advertising media to reach fellow Scots?
Yeah, I think that the great thing is the targeting capabilities. So we work with businesses, I always like to say, from banks to bathrooms and everything in between, because regardless of the sector, there's a way we can build a campaign that's going to be effective for you. So everyone has a different objective, everyone has a different mechanic they want to share. So whether it's a sale, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, we've seen lots of different types of brands coming through in the last year. So we've had more construction companies, we've had more road maintenance companies, we've had more service-based businesses that traditionally probably, wouldn't have turned to TV as their first port of call for marketing. They would maybe use trade magazines or trade press, but actually because we're seeing changes in media consumption, so consumers working from home. I was just saying earlier, actually chatting to some neighbours, and they're saying things like, "Oh yeah, I've got the TV on in the background," or I have, I take my lunch and I sit and I watch a bit of Loose Women. And actually we're seeing a lot more of that trend. So daytime, for instance, is up 19% for ABC One adults, which is a hugely important audience for a lot of brands, but traditionally quite a difficult audience to reach because they tend to be, in the main, lower consumers of all media. So we're seeing some really interesting trends developing, and we work with clients and brands to share those, to say, have you thought about trying X? Or we know that an important time of the year for you is summer. Here's what we're seeing. Obviously, we've got the Euros coming up this year. So we work really closely, but I wouldn't say there's any sector that particularly it doesn't work for, which obviously I would say. But traditionally, we have seen a kind of change in consumption, and we try and share that. We also do a lot of research. So I think maybe I've spoken previously about Scott Pulse, who we work with, who are a research panel. So we've just done research last week looking at what people plans in Scotland are for the summer. So when we found 7 out of 10 Scots plan to book a staycation in Scotland and are ready to do that now. So we share that information with clients to say, okay, actually, we've seen this trend. Now's the time to think about how you want to target those people. So we do that quite regularly, and we've done that throughout last year, particularly looking at the retail market, looking at leisure, looking at hospitality. How can we help support brands so that they make the best possible marketing investment and have the most effective return, essentially?
That's wonderful. And when I think about something that would make me hesitant would be that, oh, we've got to produce an advert. How do we get it right? And we're all perfectionists, so we all want to make it absolutely correct. What kind of help does your team do? Because obviously you're the experts in creating these. Is your team available to help us with the creation of these adverts?
Yep. So we can help with the insights. We can help with the script writing, right through to production and delivery. So what we normally start with is working with the account managers. So Maggie and Darren, who work with Lesley and Lewis respectively, would start by working with our strategy team to find out some insights on the market that would inform that creative. Then our STV creative team would go along, take a brief. We like to really understand, in another world, we love a factory visit or getting into the stores, really to get under the bonnet as much as we possibly can. So our creative teams would take a brief, understand what it is you want to convey, what your expectation of success is. So what success looks like to you. If you've got a sale on, you need to tell people you've got a sale if that's what you want to promote. So really understanding, we do a great piece of work where it's sort of like, can you write it on a t-shirt? And TV advertising is like, get your core message and repeat it again, because that's how it really resonates with people. So, honing that message right down. And that often, I think for a lot of people, myself included, that's the hardest part, because you're so passionate about what you do that you want to tell everyone everything. But we work really closely to hone that down. Then we would do scripts, storyboards, animatics, and then finally production, clearance, and get it on the telly in front of everyone's living rooms.
Well, I'll turn to Lesley and Lewis now and ask them about that process, because Lesley and Lewis will be like me. We can use a million words to explain what we do, and we do it daily. How did you find that process, Lesley?
Well, initially, when we sat down with Maggie, and then I had a meeting also with David, and he'd said, wow, he said, I've been on your website, I've been on your social media, I've had a look at everything you do. He says, how do we get this all into the one sentence? And that was a struggle. That was a struggle for us, because we not only do we retail products, we design, we manufacture. There are so many different elements to my industry, so many different trades people within the industry, and so many different things that we do. And we bounce lots and lots of ideas off of each other for them to eventually come back and say, listen, we can't feature our product in here. There is just too much for to say, right, here's a diamond ring, it's X, Y, or Z price. So we came up with the advertising of our services and our packages, which kind of included all of that. But that did take a wee bit of head banging to get to. Again, a bit like Lewis, I'm saying, I don't know if I like that, and I don't know if I like that. And again, until you actually see that advert put together, you're using a bit of your imagination. And I was still very hesitant the first time it came over and I played it, and it was obviously just a sample, it's not ready for TV. I played it, the first thing I thought was, voiceover needs to be a man. And they went, what about the video? And I went, oh, that's perfect, it's absolutely perfect, They're like, oh, so you like it? And I went, oh, absolutely, we need to change the voice. And the minute you see it, it's right. And there was no sending it back to have anything changed or anything edited. We just wanted to change the voice. And really, the reason for that was the voice that we had as a voiceover was quite Anglified. I don't mean that bad in any way, but we are a traditional Central Scotland company. So you want a local voice on there as to somebody further away. But no, there was what I would have thought something that would maybe have taken months to put together was put together in 3 days.
It's so funny you say that, and your passion for the process is wonderful, because I remember the first time I did television, which was with STV, and I couldn't understand why my brother was doing the voiceover, because when I heard my voice back, that wasn't the me I recognised. That's wonderful to see that clarity. And you mentioned it in comparison to spend on products like Google. And I think we can all be guilty in our businesses of sometimes the money just goes every month on Google Ads and we're not quite sure if it's working or not. Was that part of the driver that inspired you to do this?
Well, you're doing this on Google, but you can't actually physically see. You can see the clicks, you can see the traffic, you can see the conversion rate. But to be honest with you, you didn't see the difference in the pounds and the pence. And that's the most important thing, really. But as soon as my advert went live on STV, we had a slight increase within the first couple of weeks. It wasn't an immediate return. But by the time we were 2 months down the line, you could sit there and you could say, yep, not only is this paid for itself, it's made things very profitable. So therefore, we are going to draw all our money away from Google because we can't see that making any money. Do you know what I mean? And we're going to draw all our money away from Facebook ads and all of the rest of it because physically you can't. I couldn't anyway in my business see the growth the way I could see it with STV.
That's brilliant. So you're actually seeing the analytics there and the reality of life happening on the spend. That's tremendous. And what about yourself, Lewis? It sounds like you were heavily involved in the entire end-to-end process.
Yes. So I have quite a few stories because I'm 3 years in and about 3 adverts in as well now. Right. So I could go on, but I'll keep it brief. I won't bore everyone with my silly stories. So the making of the advert, the first one was very. It was straightforward. I already had an idea. If I was going to put myself out there, be on TV and be the face of the Bedz to Go, then I kind of had a good idea. And they managed, obviously, an inexperienced person's vision of what he wants his advert to be is, well, it's just not practical. So they took me back down the ground and they kind of made it real. And it was all filmed. The first one was all filmed in the store, nice and straightforward. It was done on a Sunday morning, actually, when we were closed, and that was it. And it went live within a couple of weeks. I'm very happy with the outcome. The second time round, we were maybe struggling. So that was year 2 or maybe 18 months down the track. We just wanted to freshen it up. So we were struggling a little bit. So I went down to being up in Aberdeen. We're away from the main STV team. So I think the cost sometimes of getting the STV team up to Aberdeen here to do an advert can be maybe a bit high. So there's a couple of local companies in and around the city that offer a service. So we didn't use STV to do the first advert, but a local company, DVP Studios, did it and did a great job. Anyway, sorry. So for the second one, this is my brief story. So I will stop soon. I went down to Glasgow to meet with the STV creative team. What a bunch of people! They're all mad, but the next day, in the they were so they did a wee sort of background check, as I called it, on the day on me. Basically, Facebook, my website, my old advert, etc., and they came up with sort of 4 or 5 different ideas of what the next advert could be. One of which I've been known to have a sing-song and karaoke, or in general, just any time in the shower, that sort of thing. Anyway, and not that I put any pictures of myself in the shower on Facebook, but they managed to find this sort of information. And one of them was a bit of a sort of, could you say it was like a montage from Greece, all circled around selling beds, but it was me basically in a leather jacket with a big wind machine, and they came up with that out of the top of their head. It was just phenomenal. We never did that advert, but you can imagine an 80s theme.
We want to see that advert, Lewis. We want to see
long hair and the wind. Yeah, so they came up with a great set of different ideas, led on to the second, and then we used another one of the ideas from the third advert. So yeah, so the third advert's not actually finished yet, but that will be out later this year. So yeah, it was a really positive experience, and just following on from what Lesley was saying about the actual. Fundamentally seeing the growth in the business itself, you can physically, people mention, they walk in the shop, they say, I saw you on TV. Nobody ever mentioned, I saw your advert in the paper last week. Have you sold that off? They did years ago, but nowadays it just doesn't work like that. Nobody says, "Oh, if somebody sees a Facebook post, they send you a message on Facebook. If somebody sees an item on the website, they'll send you an email. TV, people want to see you. You gain this element of trust, professionalism. People, you've been in their living room or their kitchen, and so they feel like they know you. I think it maybe doesn't quantify it in very good words, but it certainly breaks the ice and create a conversation as soon as somebody's in the door. It's a brilliant tool. Yeah, a really positive tool.
Can I maybe come in there for a wee second? Sorry. We're on like our first advert that we did with STV still running, but then when STV actually approached me and asked to do the advert and I was in it personally, I mean, at first I was like, this is the most ridiculous idea ever, me on the telly. And, it took everybody to turn around and say, well, why not? Why not? And then Maggie to tell me to shut up, don't be ridiculous, you're doing it, and that's that. But what we have found is just exactly what Lewis is saying, putting my own face on there, which I was totally opposed to, has been the best thing for my business, because as you say, even in days when I'm in the shop and it's maybe, some days I pop in when I've been out walking the dogs and I've got a hat on and a big Parker coat and I'm just nipping in to steal £2 at the till for a coffee or something, and people will go, oh, are you? And then the other thing being is as you say, it's a great conversation starter. And I think as well, people then know if you're willing to put your face out there, your business is legitimate, and that everything you're doing in business, you're right up front with that. And I think that's important to clients, is that when they're partnering with the money, that they're doing it with confidence and, there's no risk involved. And you putting your face out there, certainly, it lets everybody see the face behind the brand and all the rest. And I thought it was the worst idea ever. But like yourself, the next advert going forward will be of me again, because it has proven to be the more successful of the two adverts. I don't want to be on telly. I've never had aspirations to be. I've never had aspirations to be, famous whatsoever. But as a businesswoman, you do everything that you possibly can do, especially in this economic climate, to keep your business afloat. So therefore, when you get that opportunity and you have an opportunity like the Growth Fund, to me, it's a no-brainer if you don't grab it and run with it. Total no-brainer.
Agreed.
Well, I have to thank you both, Lesley and Lewis. You've brought this subject completely to life. And at Scottish Business Network, what we want to do is to have business leaders and founders to share their experience. And you've shared experience and got across sales messages that people will identify with, which are not the ones we normally talk about when we talk about marketing. So thank you so much. But I'd just like to end. Oh, sorry, Lewis, did you want to say something?
No.
Excellent. So I'll just turn to Danielle to close out this session. So you have two star performers here today. So I just wanted to ask you, do you have to be outgoing to make this work? Or it's really just that question of giving STV a call and then seeing where the journey takes you?
Absolutely. I think we've got clients of all different personality types and teams of all different personality types. And one of the things I think we're really proud of is really letting people be themselves. And hopefully that's kind of what you've heard today is, evoking your own brand message, who you are as a business. And we do that, within our own teams. We don't have a one size fits all approach to our teams or our Growth Fund members, because no two people or two businesses are the same. So it's all very bespoke. And, I'm so thrilled to hear the fantastic experiences that Lewis and Lesley have had. And I'm delighted when I speak to members that actually a lot of similar parallels come through, the long tail effect of TV, what Lesley's talking about, you continue to build that awareness throughout the weeks and months, and people remember you, because TV lasts with you in such an emotional way, and the trust that Lewis mentioned, STV is the most trusted medium in Scotland, according to Ofcom. So these are really things that we take very, very seriously and are hugely proud of. We're in such a privileged position to be able to reach into people's living rooms. And as you mentioned, 80% of Scots across a month, that's fantastic. We're the top peak time channel in Scotland, top commercial channel. And we take that very, very seriously, as well as our role to support and grow businesses so that, businesses today are still with us in 60 years, the way Tunnocks have been with us since 1957. That we want to have those businesses that grow with us. And equally, the thing I would say, if anyone's not sure or not thinking it's right for them, give us a shout. We will say to people, and we have done regularly, it's not right for you yet. We don't want to take someone's hard-earned budget if we don't think it's going to deliver. And we're quite upfront and honest about that. And I know Maggie, who works with Lesley's, worked with a couple of brands and said, you know what, come back in a year or we'll keep talking, but actually take a bit of time and think about this, because we want to work with you for 3, 5, 10, 60 years. And if it's not right in that moment, we're very happy to have that conversation and figure out when it will be right and how we can come together and build a fantastic campaign that delivers the ROI everyone wants to see.
Thank you so much for that. We will, at the end of the piece, we'll put up details about the Growth Fund and also about these two fantastic businesses we have with us today. But I would just like to thank everyone for your time today to help us with this. Your enthusiasm alone shines through, and I love the reason that you've been able to explain the benefits you got from doing this. So thank you all very much now. Thank you all.